Hi, Recovery Girls. I'm Lynn. A couple days ago, I went to a funeral of someone who actually died of addiction, of an overdose. And I don't know all the details behind it, and that doesn't really matter. The fact is that it's a young person. Probably, I didn't know her well. I actually knew a family member, and so I was really there to support the family member. But she was young. She was probably in her early 20s, and she had been in and out of rehab and had really struggled, and finally addiction took her life. And I think through the tools that we have, and sometimes I question, do they really work? I mean, here's somebody who just died from an overdose, who had been, I don't know if she'd been working the steps. She'd been in rehab. Maybe she didn't adhere to a set of steps, to a certain program. But I have seen over and over how the steps have worked in people's lives, and my own, and my friends, and the other recovery girls. And I know that working a program of recovery really helps in changing and saving lives. And so I started thinking, if is there one step that's really, I could focus on today that's more important than the other, and it really hit me that the steps are in order for a purpose. They're in order to be worked. A lot of times I want to jump to the step 11, where we continue to make conscious contact with our higher power. And it has to do with prayer, and I am a huge believer in the power of prayer. And I think that, if I were to have to pick the most important step, that would be it. But the reality is, and the way the program was developed, there's all sorts of writing about the history of recovery in the 12 steps. That's interesting. But it was designed in order for a purpose, because we do have to come to that bottom, to that level of powerlessness, where we're admitting we're powerless, that this disease has gotten the best of us. And so we have to get to that place first, which is why the first step is where it is, and then the second step, and then the third step, and so on. So as you are learning maybe about the steps for the first time, I suggest that you get a hold of a book about the 12 steps that will teach you a little bit more about why the steps are in the order in which they are written. And then get a sponsor, get a friend that you can work those steps with, because addiction is a lonely, lonely, dark place. And as we know, and I know personally through other friends that have taken their lives, or have overdosed, or are living in a dark place, maybe not from a substance, but from an addiction to pornography, or an addiction to food, or workaholism, or abstaining from food, whatever it is. Those are dark places that have control over us. And so while somebody might not OD on a drug, there's still a really dark place where people go when they are in an addictive cycle. And so I wanted to remind you all out there that what we deal with is a dark and deadly disease. And so I really hope that you will find the hope in the steps and in fellowship. So with that, my friends, I pray that you will turn your life and your will over the care of God, and you will watch for the miracles.